Good evening. The time is now 6 p.m., October 6, 2021, and I'd like to call to order the Parks and Recreation Commission for the City of Vacaville. We appreciate everyone who is participating in tonight's Park and Recreation teleconference meeting. This meeting will be conducted pursuant Assembly Bill 361. Please bear with us as we attempt to use remote tools. Instructions to call into the meeting or to participate from a computer are provided on the agenda on the city's website at www.cityofvacaville.com. Callers who wish to comment can press *9 to get into the speaking queue. Computer users can click the raise hand button within their Zoom controls to request to speak. Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Commissioner Baruman.
Present.
Commissioner Gutierrez.
Here.
Commissioner Leonard. Commissioner Thompson.
I am present.
Commissioner Vandertulen.
Present.
Vice Chair Vasquez.
Here.
Chair McMahon.
Present. Thank you very much. Commissioner Vandertulen, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening, sir?
Thank you. I sure will. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, sir.
My pleasure.
Item 3, approval of the agenda. Madam Secretary, are there any corrections or changes to the agenda this evening?
I have received none, Chair.
Okay, I'll accept a motion and a second, please.
This is Commissioner Thompson. I motion approval.
Commissioner Baruman, and I'll second.
Okay, we have Thompson and Baruman. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Baruman.
Aye.
Commissioner Gutierrez.
Aye. Sorry.
Commissioner Thompson.
Yes.
Commissioner Vandertulen.
Yes.
Chair Vasquez. Vice Chair Vasquez.
Yes.
Chair McMahon.
Yes. Okay, motion moves forward. And item number 4, approval of the minutes. Approval of minutes for the meeting of September 1, 2021. Any corrections or changes to the minutes, ma'am?
Yes, Chair. We have corrections, and it's up here on your screen. Staff would just like to clarify the following items on the September 1, 2021 Parks and Recreation Commission meeting minutes. Under item 11, reports of the park planner, we just wanted to clarify what you see in red. Staff is working on a plan to expand the bifurcate the dog park, separating the space into small and large dog areas. And then the last bullet, a photo was shown. So we just want to insert the words, photo was taken from Southern Hills Open Space. So those 2 bullets, Chair.
Okay, very good, ma'am. Thank you. And I will now accept a motion and a second to accept the minutes as posted.
A motion to approve as amended.
Thank you. Vasquez, and a second, please.
I will second that, Commissioner Vandertulen.
Okay, we have Vasquez and Vandertulen. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Baruman.
Aye.
Commissioner Gutierrez.
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson.
Yes.
Commissioner Vandertulen.
Yes.
Vice Chair Vasquez.
Yes.
Chair McMahon.
Yes. Very good. Moving forward. Item number 5, communications. Madam Secretary, are there any written correspondence this evening?
We have received none, Chair.
Seeing none, we'll move on to number 6, which is presentation. 6A, Aquatics and Special Interest Recreation Coordinator, Taya de Alba.
Hello, everyone. My name is Taya D'Alba. I am a recreation coordinator with the City of Vacaville. This presentation will highlight aquatics and special interests throughout 2021, including our current programs, challenges, and successes that we've encountered, and any new ideas that we have for 2022. Next slide, please. Next slide. This past summer, we had 38 certified lifeguards on staff, as well as 4 lifeguard instructors. Title 22 training is a 23-hour state mandated course for lifeguards, firefighters, police officers, and other safety personnel. The course covers extensive education on advanced first aid. Ideally, we like to have about 50 staff. Although we couldn't offer our full range of programs due to the staffing shortage, we were able to host water fitness programs such as lap swim, water aerobics, and aquaboard, which are staff taught in addition to swim lessons. Next slide. We certified 10 new lifeguards in our April certification course. 7 out of the 10 certified applied and received employment through the city of Vacaville. Prior to the start of the summer, staff received 20 hours of training focused on program policies, basic skills, and the changing COVID-19 guidelines. During the summer, staff in-service trainings were held every Friday for 2 to 3 hours to ensure life-saving skills were up to par. Next slide. At the end of the summer season, we had the opportunity to wrap up a myriad of fun aquatic programs. Although several had to be modified to meet public safety guidelines prior to the June reopening of California, we did maximize the classes and events that we were able to run. Open swim, water art, and 707 diving were some of the most popular programs. We also held the first cardboard boat regatta, as featured here in the picture. The event consisted of families attempting to build and race a boat made of cardboard across our pool. Next slide, please. From January through June, lap swim was conducted with pre-registered sessions allowing for social distancing and one swimmer per lane. This was adjusted on July 5th, and the program reverted back to the original lap swim structure, where multiple swimmers can share lanes and can share for up to 2 hours at a time. Water aerobics and water art also started out with class size limitations and extra lane utilization to spread out patrons. Classes eventually transitioned to increase class size and consolidated the amount of lanes being used. Next slide, please. Swim lessons have been in full swing since the spring. They started by requiring a parent to be in the water no matter the age or level, with the instructor teaching from the deck. We then transitioned early in the summer to have no parents required and instructors teaching from inside the pool as well. This allowed us to offer all levels of lessons in a group format as well as private lessons. Overall, swim lessons were very popular, with over 80% of them waitlisted. Next slide, please. The community greatly appreciated the ability to get back in the water, which showed through their participation. Lap swim saw just over 1,000 reservations and drop-ins combined in the month of July. This is compared to the 700 participants we saw in July of 2020. Open swim also had close to 2,000 patrons within the same month. Because of the staffing shortage, it was easier to book parties on the weekends and after hours rather than during open swim. So as a result, we saw an increase in private party rentals. Next slide, please. The most significant challenges we face included, since COVID-19 protocols were ever changing, we found that it was difficult for our participants to adjust. Rolling out new and consistent information for each program was tough, but thankfully most patrons understood the reasons behind them. Making the appropriate decisions to provide safe programs was also a challenge. In the aquatics program area, our objective is always to provide safe programming without compromising the quality for our community members. Another ongoing battle has been the continued maintenance of proper chemical levels. Due to COVID, we have continued to maintain a higher level of chlorine, which was challenging as we opened back up and added more participants and programs. The biggest struggle aquatics has been facing is the shortage of staff. We could not run all of our expected programs and events. We're not the only ones though. This is consistent with other aquatic facilities and agencies as well. Next slide, please. At the end of 2021 and beginning of 2022, we plan to expand our aquaboard classes, provide additional programming time slots, and add a new winter incentive program for our regular swimmers. The swim drive will encourage patrons to bring non-perishable items during the week of Thanksgiving to be donated to the Solano County Food Bank. Those participants will be entered to win a 10-visit water fitness pass. Lap swim and swim lessons are always popular, so the program area is hoping to increase time slots for both programs as well. We're also looking forward to the Polar Bear Plunge, a winter event that challenges participants to brave the cold weather and plunge into the decreased pool temperatures, tentatively scheduled for the end of December. Next slide, please. Any questions or comments for aquatics?
Thank you very much, Taya. Any comments from the commission versus or for aquatics? I see no comments or questions. Taya, you can press on, please.
Alrighty, so in addition to aquatics, I also oversee the city's special interest programming. Special interest programming provides an opportunity for people to explore new personal developments and fun hobbies. If you're looking to learn a new skill and connect with your community, we have a class for you. Next slide, please. Our instructors range in skills and abilities. Here's a list of the classes that we do offer. Next slide. Next slide. As the department moves towards the end of 2021, we're focusing on the following items. We're conducting ongoing recruitment for new instructors through marketing and advertising, along with researching our surrounding recreation departments to see if there are new programs that we could offer for the community. When deciding which location to utilize for classes with new instructors, we're going to focus on facilities and outdoor areas that are not being utilized in hopes to increase public activity there. Programs and classes help supplement social activity in low to moderately utilized areas. The department is also researching which areas in Vacaville may be underserved so that we can start offering programs that are more easily accessible to people in those specific Vacaville neighborhoods. Next slide. One of our biggest accomplishments this year was bringing back instructor Linda Holloman to offer classes and programs for younger kids. Linda has very popular classes and we look forward to seeing her classes flourish, specifically making machines and origami. In addition, to combat the challenge of instructors not wanting to return, we started exploring what unique skill sets staff have to offer. We ended up hosting a handful of staff-led macrame classes that were well received. We also plan on bringing back classes in a post-COVID environment. That was a nice success that we had. And since having started late into the summer on June 30th, I personally have been able to connect and foster healthy relationships with our instructors. Next slide, please. Some challenges that we're facing, one of the biggest ones is instructor recruitment. We're in a rebuilding phase because several instructors opted out of teaching during COVID. One ongoing challenge is that some instructors are not interested in offering virtual classes, and we're finding a decrease in participation for virtual programs. Mixed with last year's virtual schooling, we just believe that families are burnt out with virtual programming. They simply want in-person interaction. We're also challenged with instructors being hesitant to return to in-person instruction. Next slide. Along with this, we are continuously trying to find new classes that are not only relevant to the community today, but are also on trend and in demand. Our goal as a program area is to add 2 additional instructors for a total of 10 by the end of 2021. We are currently in the process of working with a new automotive instructor that would like to teach in-person classes and will only require a classroom setting. Increasing class sizes will always be on the program's radar, but we especially want to increase the amount of advertisements and social media posts that we are putting out. We are also researching ways to increase the chances of online engagements. To push the expansion of special interest, we will be partnering with more program areas to provide new classes and events. Next slide. Any questions or comments?
Taya, thank you again for the presentation. Any commissioner comments or questions for Taya? Commissioner Gutierrez.
Great presentation. Thank you so much. Just a quick question. Have we found that people have been taking advantage of the scholarship opportunity to sign up for any of these programs being offered?
Hi, Commissioner Gutierrez. This is Recreation Manager Reggie Hubbard. I was going to discuss that under manager reports.
Oh, okay.
But you're ahead of the game. You're thinking ahead. Thank you.
Great.
Great, thank you. Any further commissioner comments or questions for Taya? Taya, thank you so much. Oh, excuse me, Commissioner Vandertulen.
Sorry, I raised my hand late.
That's okay.
So I'm curious. I would imagine that your summer programs, especially with the swim programs, and again, I appreciated the presentation as well. So every time I participate in our commissioner hearings, I learn something new about our programs. But given that some of the summer programs are seasonal, you may have touched on this before, but maybe you can reiterate. As far as the return, individuals, are you getting feedback that they're interested? I understand that in a virtual reality, the interest is waning now. But what about in some of the swim classes? Because that is outdoors. And are you getting any reaction about any of them returning next year? So that way, as we get into the 2022 season, you're feeling optimistic that we're going to get to somewhat of a normal, although I think it's going to take a couple of years. Do you feel that we're going to get back to a normal where you are going to have some of these roles fulfilled?
Definitely. I think even just seeing the reaction that most of our patrons had coming in, just being able to lap swim, before we actually opened up everything, that opportunity alone was huge for the entire community. And then continuing that through the reopening of California. I mean, I think now more than ever, we're getting more encouragement to, open more classes, more time slots. And that's why we feel so confident making that decision moving forward.
Well, that's good to hear. I mean, as we're all out there venturing out into the world now, we are seeing more participation. And I agree with you. These outdoor activities, especially associated with our swim facilities, it's really important to get out there and maintain a healthy relationship and, kind of keep moving around. So thank you for the response. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. Any further commissioner comments or questions for Taya? I see no further comments or questions, Taya. Thank you so much. We appreciate the presentation and thank you for all you do out there.
Yes, thank you guys for having me.
Thank you. Item number 7, business from the floor. This is the time to address the commission with issues that are not on the agenda that are within the commission's subject matters jurisdiction. Maximum of 3 minutes per speaker. Madam Secretary, I see a hand raised.
Yes, our Stanton Hales, I'll open your mic. Mr. Hales, you're going to have to unmute yourself. There you go.
Am I able to be heard now?
Yes.
Good evening. Good evening, sir. We hear you.
Oh, thank you very much. So first, let me offer some thanks. First, thanks for the chance to address the commission tonight. Thanks to Carrie Walker for presenting my June letter at your August meeting at the commission. And then certainly thanks to the city of Vacaville and the Parks and Recreation Commission for making badminton a major part of the Georgie Duke Center schedule for now nearly 20 years, and especially for the increased hours since the returning from COVID. A quick report, during last Sunday afternoon session, all 6 courts were pretty much full for the full 4 hours with 25 to 30 players overall. It is this continued success and substantial patronage of the program that led to my June letter, and then to my surprise in finding almost no reference to badminton in the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. As my letter points out, the status of badminton, first as a high school varsity sport in Vacaville, Davis, Fairfield, and beyond, as a university club sport at UC Davis, UC Berkeley, and others, and as a very popular sport for adults and especially seniors like me, makes it a model for wide age range programs. And I'd like to think that the commission and the city would be proud of this and want to make it a more central and highlighted part of your future plans. In fact, that is precisely what the late Becky Lum had worked for during her 30+ years doing double duty, both as a mathematics teacher and badminton coach at local high schools and the community college. I have to admit, though, that my concern continues. At Duke Center on Sunday, I picked up a copy of the fall 2021 issue of the Parks and Recreation Commission Events Guide. And although it seems that every other sport program is listed either on page 18 or elsewhere, there is absolutely no mention of badminton that I could find anywhere else in the program. I simply don't understand why the game is virtually invisible in the commission's printed materials. And so I'd like to offer my help to how you might want to change this. I'd also repeat my suggestion for my June letter that if any of you are unfamiliar with the nature of the sport worldwide, I'd encourage you to watch on YouTube streaming of current level of play around the world, such as the recently completed Sudirman Cup finals between China and Japan. So I'm happy to answer any questions both about my letter and about my comments this evening and discuss any of this with you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hales. We do appreciate your comments, and I know that you have reached out to the staff, and I do believe you have corresponded with a few of our staff members, and we appreciate that. So thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome. Any questions or discussion?
No questions at this time from business from the floor, sir. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Madam Secretary, any further callers?
Yes. Terry Christopher, I'll open your mic. And
is it there? Can you hear me now?
We can, thank you.
Okay, thank you. My name is Terry Christopher. I'm on the board for Solano Community Tennis Association, known as the SCTA. I would like to share with you the popularity of tennis and the importance of having facilities to provide tennis opportunities in our community. I joined Browns Valley that year and became very involved with the tennis community. Courts for full weekend mornings, and I think at that time we had 12 courts. Interest grew with SCTA tournaments, which developed into USTA leagues. Courts became filled at night with tennis leagues, and I participated in every league I could. It was difficult even to get courts just to play because of the popularity. Tennis communities continued to grow until COVID occurred and leagues stopped in Vacaville because InShape would not allow visiting teams in their facility. Needless to say, the demand remained for tennis courts. Just this past spring, leagues started again using Centennial courts as home base. We had 8 teams in which 5 teams won their league playoffs and went on to sectionals, and 1 team was very close to going to nationals. Teams are divided by rating, age, and gender. We have mixed teams also, and leagues are year-round. Just estimating with both men and women's leagues, 50 players play in one season. People that play league practice in order to become more competitive, which requires courts to practice. Several of the individuals that once played tennis in Vacaville have joined other facilities out of town. I know of at least 15 individuals that now play in Davis due to the lack of facilities. This revenue is leaving our community and benefiting others, unfortunately similar to golf. These numbers are conservative, but many other players play just for fun. Juniors are playing. Some are taking lessons with hopes of playing for a school team. I was told that 28 students that were taking lessons had an cumulative GPA of 4.18. I am concerned about Vacaville becoming a bedroom community with all the new construction. I would like it to remain a family community with family values and activities. I am Vacaville. I know the tennis community would like to partner with you to improve our local tennis facilities. This is a great opportunity to start at the ground level. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for your comments, ma'am. Madam Secretary, next caller, please.
Tony Mraz, I'll unmute your mic. I'm sorry. Oh, there you go.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Hey, my name is Tony Moras, and I thank you for this opportunity to update you on the status of tennis in Vacaville. Terry's already done a pretty good job to start with, but when I spoke to you last month, my message was that the city had been unaware and unprepared for the needs of the local tennis community that had recently been displaced from its longtime home in the courts at Browns Valley Sports Club. My concern was that the city's plans, the PRMP and the CPMP, call for reduction in the number of the city park courts. The 4-court complex at Centennial Park goes away, and these plans at a time when the tennis community is looking for a new home base to keep the sport alive and growing in the area. My message this month is that city staff has been supportive of our efforts to maintain some level of tennis on the city park courts. Recreation Supervisor Elizabeth Crescente went above and beyond in May to get the Centennial Park courts recognized by the U.S. Tennis Association for league play. She initiated the court rental procedures so we could host league play starting in June. She is currently negotiating a special use agreement for court usage with our newly formed Solano Community Tennis Association. The city has responded quickly on a request for court cleanup, weed abatement, net replacement, and additional trash cans. Park planner Hugh Hesterman has been very receptive to our dream of a future tennis center at Centennial Park. But tennis is more than courts for adult play. USPTA pros are the heart and soul of the tennis family. Elizabeth has contracted with Solano Tennis, that's Aaron King and Duncan McLeod, to provide city tennis programs supporting youth camps and adult clinics. I'm told that demand exceeds supply for these classes as court availability limits the number of people who can participate. We began this cooperative effort with the city to allow our teams to play in USTA leagues. Terry's already recounted our success in the just completed leagues. We have 5 teams competing in current leagues, but even at this participation level, we can do better. Conditions are Spartan at the Centennial Park courts. No seats, no shade, high winds, no lights, close court spacing, and no spectator seating. As Terry said, even one captain even hosted her team out of Napa. And other players are playing in Napa Davis and Walnut Creek. We have a presence in Vacaville, but we're a long way from our dream of a tennis home for our tennis family. Our Solano Community Tennis Association is incorporated as a 501c3, and we recently submitted our application to the IRS for tax-exempt status. When that is approved, we'll be able to raise funds to work cooperatively with the city to enhance conditions at Centennial Park. In summary, tennis in Vacaville still has a heartbeat because of the support of city staff. They made courts available for league play and offered programs to develop and improve individual play. But we're a long way from what we can be. As a new SCTA matures, we want to work with the city to improve the facilities, increase the programs of participation, and pursue our dream of an 8-court tennis home base. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate the comments. Madam Secretary, any further callers, ma'am?
I see none, Chair.
Okay, very good. I would like to close public comment at this time. However, I would like to allow staff to address first Mr. Hale's comments on badminton. Would someone from the staff like to talk about where we're at with that?
This is Recreation Manager Reggie Hubbard, Commission Chair. Yeah, we have several opportunities available for badminton at the Georgie Duke Center. And as far as the marketing for badminton, you know, we typically, you will find it on the city's webpage under the Duke tab, and you'll find all the classes and all the times. Now, we can put in our events guide, but since that, as the caller explained, the courts are full. And so when you know the courts are full or when programs are full, we do more online marketing than we do in the events guide because, you know, like I said, the courts are full. And so, yeah, if we need to put them and reach out in other places as far as our marketing efforts, that's absolutely doable. But as the caller said, that particular program remains full throughout the week. And you can go onto the City of Vacaville's webpage and click on the Duke tab, and you can find all the dates and times for that particular program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Reggie. We appreciate that. Also, I'd like to allow staff to address the comments from our callers regarding tennis. Anyone from the staff would like to comment on that? Hugh, do you have any comments that you'd like to add? I know you've worked closely with Tony through emails. Any further comments, sir?
Chair McMahon, this is Director Walker, and I will allow Hugh to speak in just a moment, but the caller did mention the Centennial Park Master Plan. And just for clarification, again, that master plan is incomplete and has yet to come to the commission for approval. So the tennis courts are something that we will be taking a look at as part of the master plan. And with that said, I will turn it over to Hugh.
Thank you, Director Walker. This is Hugh Hesterman. As Director Walker mentioned, the draft master plan for Centennial Park erroneously shows only 2 tennis courts. It was supposed to show 4, and as we work further on completing that master plan, that is the intent. They also are located in an area that is much more protected from the winds that are very prevalent out of Centennial Park.
I'm sorry, Andrea, do you have something to add, ma'am?
Yes, I was just wanting to make sure that the chair and staff are reminded that the tennis courts are not an agendized item tonight. And so to the extent that comments are made in response to the public input, it needs to be limited and very general in nature. And if it is the desire of the commission or staff to bring this back for further discussion, we can certainly agendize it.
Thank you very much, Andrea. I'm sorry to interrupt you. If you would like to continue, sir, and we'll just keep it somewhat general, sir.
Yeah, well, I think I said what was needed to be said there, just simply that that the master plan is yet incomplete at Centennial Park.
Okay, very good. I appreciate the comments from staff, and we will move forward. Thank you very much for those comments. We're now at agenda item 8, reports of Park Planner David Jacobson.
Good evening, Commission Chair and Commissioners. I have 2 items to just briefly inform you about. Tracy, do you have the slide I sent you?
I do. David, give me 1 second to pull it
Okay.
up. I apologize.
No problem. Sorry. I'll go with the other item. I had mentioned in our April-May meeting earlier this year, part of Measure M projects, we were going to be doing additional basketball court resurfacing projects in the new fiscal current year. And due to labor shortages and supply chain issues, the contractor's backlog that we have contracted with to do that work, he's about 6 months behind schedule. So the court resurfacing at those parks is going to be taking place in the spring, and it did not occur in this summer. The pickleball striping for the Three Oaks Community Center, though, will be happening. They're going to be here next week getting that work completed. But that is all they're going to be able to squeeze in for us this current season, so to speak. As we get into the shorter days and colder temperatures, it's not conducive for court resurfacing. And then the second item was, go ahead and go to next slide, please, Tracy. I received a request for a memorial bench at Orchard Park. And myself and both Park Planner Hugh Esterman have reviewed the site and approved that location as requested by the applicant. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
David, thank you very much, sir. Any comments or questions from the commission for our parks manager? I see no hands. Thank you very much, David. Have a great evening.
Thank you, sir.
Item 9A, business. Director Walker.
Thank you, Chair McMahon. This next item, Recreation Manager Melody Ocampo will be presenting on improvements to the Willis Jepson Memorial Garden made by the Peña Adobe Historical Society.
Thank you, Chair Director Walker. Good evening, Commissioners. Oh, there we go. Thanks, Tracy. Next slide. So just to give you a little background, a number of years ago, there was a Eagle Scout from Vacaville Troop 180 named Cole Smith, who worked in collaboration with a gentleman named Robert or Bob Allen, who has been an integral member of a lot of historical agencies throughout Solano County. One in specific is the Peña Adobe Historical Society, otherwise known as PAWS. He was also a founding member of the Solano County Historical Society, and he worked alongside this Eagle Scout to create the Willis Lynn Jepson Memorial Garden, as you see photographed here. This is located at the Pena Adobe Historical Area, and since its creation, the garden has served as a teaching garden where visitors can learn about plants, their historical value, their relationship with local Native American tribes, such as the Patwins, which is a member of the Winton Tribe Nation, and the important role that these plants play to pollinators, fun facts about drought tolerance, fire resistance, and maintenance practices. Unfortunately, Bob Allen passed away in 2016, and since that time, the garden has slowly started to fall into a bit of disrepair. Next slide. So this fall, PAWS has gotten active with beginning to restore the garden with some plant selection modifications that are going to adapt to current and future climate change impacts. They've established some criteria. As you can see here, they've chosen quite a variety of plant sizes. They're going to be using a combination of shrubs, seeds, and bulbs, as well as taking advantage of the existing plants that are still within the garden. They will continue to align this garden with Bob Allen's original vision and, of course, the mission of the Pena Adobe Historical Society, which is to preserve the history and historical value, providing education and cultural services to the community. They will ensure that this garden is true to the historical value of Native Americans, such as the Patwins. They're going to make sure that it's as fire resistant as possible. They're choosing low maintenance plants that do well in our conditions that are here in Vacaville, as well as plants that are resilient to any foreseeable climate change effects, as I mentioned earlier. One of the amazing things that's going to be happening with this garden is that the Solano and Yolo master gardeners who have been working alongside with PAWS on this project are going to be available at the garden during some select monthly open house events. Those are hosted at the first Saturday of each month by the Pena Adobe Historical Society. They are going to be able to provide some education on California native gardens and pollinators. And again, as you can see, they've selected quite a variety of plants and shrubs. And Tracy, the next slides are just some up close and some better resolution images than what were included in your packet. So if you could just slowly take us through here. We have just a few existing plants in place. This that you see here, the buckeye, yucca, and agave. And then if you go to the next slide, so there's about 6 new plants that are from the original vision and that used to be in place, but have since died off, and that the PAWS is bringing back to the garden. And then the following slides that you will see here are all new plants that were chosen in collaboration with the master gardeners who believe that these will be successful in this garden and again meet all the criteria that I have mentioned. So if you just want to slowly click through some of those, Tracy. As we're looking at those, I will go ahead and open it up to questions and let you guys take in these images of the beautiful plants.
Melody, thank you so much. Commissioner comments or questions for Melody Ocampo? Commissioner Vander Tulen?
You're muted, Commissioner, if you're speaking.
All right, I'm unmuted now. Sorry about that.
Wonderful.
So, I appreciate the presentation, and I'm excited about sharing the California plant materials, some native and some that have adapted to our environment here in California. But if I recall in the first slide, it was quite a shady area, and a lot of the plants, and I know you're working with the master gardeners, and I'm sure this is taken into consideration, but a lot of the plants you're showing require full sun. So I guess my comment would be that when the garden is restored, that the plant material is given the right amount of sun in order for them to survive. Because you're right, a lot of the plants that were shown in the slides here are low maintenance that can basically take care of themselves, and they're seasonal. So you'll get a variety of colors throughout the year, which I think is important to the California landscape. But the only comment I would have is that make sure that you have an ample area to allow for these plants to survive in a full sun environment, because that's what a lot of these plants need. So that's my comment. And again, I'm not privy to where they're being planted. I saw the schematic site plan. So I'm sure that there's concern or consideration taken into where these plants are located. And those are my comments. And that's based on my personal experience, based on my profession. So that's my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And we'll pass it along to the Peña Historical Society.
Wonderful. Thank you.
And they do, I'll just add that we have a president of the Peña, excuse me, I'm just going to say pause. She unfortunately couldn't make it here tonight, but she just, wanted to thank everyone for, accepting this update and any support of the project.
Great. Thank you so much, sir, for your comments. Any further commissioner comments or questions for Melody? I see none, Melody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Agenda item 10, committee reports. Play for All Committee, Commissioner Bruman.
Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. Well, Play for All Park is rolling and it's coming alive. They're having their Community Awareness Day at the park Saturday, October 23rd of this month. And there's the flyer so that hopefully commissioners can go out and help with the event, not actually help, but show up to represent. And it's going to be a lot of fun. The actual play equipment arrived on Monday, so they're keeping their fingers crossed it'll be assembled by that day, but it won't be able to be used at the time because the ground, if you look at the green, is rubberized and it can't be stepped on right away. So, but it'll be there for people to see, and it actually is happening. Tom Felipe and crew are very excited, and they'll be doing some face painting and all kinds of things out there. Hank and Hazel's, as you see, Kona Ice. So hopefully I get to see you guys all because I'll be out there and helping represent and helping out there too. So hope to see you all there. That's all I got.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Commissioner Bruman. It's exciting to see this happening. This has been in the works for many years, and there's been a lot of people that have volunteered and worked very hard on this project. So it's exciting and it's almost a reality. Thank you, sir. 10B, Youth Sports Advisory Team, Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you, Chair. The Youth, the Youth Sports Advisory Team meeting was held on September 23rd. There was an introduction of some new people during the meeting. Logan Murphy is taking over as president of Vacaville American Little League. He was not present, but he was introduced as the new incoming president. And Jason Case will be taking over as president of Pony. And then Parks and Recreation staff, Katie Solorio, will be taking over field rentals and everything related to the leagues and working with the leagues. So they were introduced to the YSAT group. Reggie reviewed some billing issues. Seems that there's a couple leagues that still have some outstanding bills, and he was reaching out to contact them shortly after our meeting or the days subsequent to our meeting. So I expect those have been resolved by this time. And new agreements are in process for the upcoming renewal. It's a 5-year renewal starting in 2023. Reggie recommended or strongly recommended, and I agreed with him, that we start working on those now so that we can have those, discussions, and each league has kind of a unique perspective on those contract renewal agreements. So those should start here relatively soon so that we can have those in place long before the 2023 implementation. And then we also had a discussion with Public Works about pre-season facility checks. Historically, those facility walkthroughs or field walkthroughs are done in late February, just before the allocations go active for league play on March 1st. And it was recommended that walkthrough is done before Public Works goes into the moratorium so that they can work on anything during the downtime or during the moratorium. So we all agreed that that was probably a prudent move forward, especially if there was any significant changes or things that need to be implemented at any of the facilities and field complexes. Some upgrades are going to be happening during the moratorium in the winter, specifically concessions. There's going to be some concession improvements out at Nelson Park, and then also the addition of lighting at both Arlington and Centennial Park, one field at Arlington, one field at Centennial, and hoping to have those in place before leagues kick off in February, March of 2022. Given labor and material shortages, that may or may not happen, but everyone's keeping their fingers crossed. And that pretty much covers it. The next meeting for YSAT will be in November.
Outstanding.
That's all I have.
Outstanding. Thank you so much for all your work on YSAT. And it sounds like there's some exciting changes and improvements in the future. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Agenda item 11, reports of Park Planner Hugh Hesterman.
Thank you, Chair McMahon. Tracy, if you would, please bring up the slide deck. So I have a number of things to report to the commission on. A real quick status of the work that's being done in Lagoon Valley Park for the Lower Lagoon Lower Lagoon Valley development. Next slide, please, Tracy. This is what park goers saw today as they came in. It is the location of the sewer lift station that is located directly behind that big crane rig there. And all week long, last week, that piece of equipment was driving pilings in to surround the well, the wet well that the sewer lift station will be located in. Next slide, please, Tracy. This is another view of the same project. You can see just behind those the green Italian pines there, stone pines that are in the background. That's the location of the paved trail known as the North Pass Trail. And I am, as a photographer, I'm standing basically in the center of the Rotary Grove. So you'll be able to see this site from the Rotary Grove. Next slide, please. And then standing up on the trail itself, looking down, you can see the oaks pretty much in the center of the trail of the photo. And just beyond those oak trees is the approximate location of the new restroom building that will be connected into this sewer lift station, which is a much highly desired amenity for the park is more restroom buildings. That will be brought online, or at least scheduled to be brought online about the same time that the sewer lift station would become functional, so that people can actually use it at that time. Next slide, please. And here you just have a view of a couple of the trails that were cut off by this construction. This one shows the developers or the contractors signage showing that hikers, walkers, etc. would have to take a little detour over the bridge there to the left. Next slide, please. And on the North Pass Trail itself, up at the top of Butcher Hill, this is pretty much the same scene as what I showed you last month. Very little additional work has happened at this particular site. This will be the water booster station. And there'll be, right where I'm standing as a photographer, that trail will be taken out of service for a few weeks while they install the force main and new water mains. Next slide, please. And here's a group that I just happened to see going down the trail today. It's unusual for equestrians to use the paved trail. Horses prefer to stay off the pavement, but they had to divert because of the closed trail. Next slide, please. So I've been reporting to the commission on the plan to bifurcate the dog park at Lagoon Valley. This is an aerial view taken, or it's snagged off of Google, so it's a couple years old, I believe, but it'll work for the purposes of this presentation. As reported previously, the public has long asked that this dog park be provided with a small dog area as well as the large dog area. Right now, the conflicts between the small dogs and the large dogs is significant. And the public has been asking for this for a long time. Back in January, our department did an informal survey using SurveyMonkey just to kind of see how many people would respond in favor of a general plan to bifurcate the park. And the results of that survey indicated about 65% were very likely would be in favor of bifurcating the park, and about 17% were against it. And in talking to those people, at least some of those who responded why they were against it, the general reason was because they were large dog owners and they didn't want to lose any of the space. So that gave us a little direction as we proceeded in doing some initial design work. And so Tracy, would you go to the next slide, please? So this is the area that we determined we could actually expand the dog park to the north. And what it would allow, I think right there where your cursor is going around, this would allow us to expand the existing fencing and not lose any exercise area that would be allocated to the large dogs. And then also we plan to expand to the south. Next slide, please. So the current area where you see the Italian cypress there is kind of unused, right between the road and the existing fence. In the foreground, you'll see a couple benches there and a posting board. And that area just really is never used for anything. And so we thought we could expand the small dog area out too. And in doing so, try to get everybody on board with an idea to bifurcate the park and not lose any space within either of the fenced areas. So the next slide illustrates what we've come up with. This is not a final plan, but it gives a rough idea. At the north end, where Tracy is showing with her cursor there, that's the area where we would plan to expand. And then down to the southern end, the hatched area would be the expansion to the south. And then right about a quarter of the way up, you can see the new fence that would distinguish between the large dog area and the small dog area. Now, of course, this would require a separate entry for both areas, a separate water supply, separate disposal area. And the list of improvements that we think we could accomplish here was number one is to, besides the bifurcation, would be to raise the height of the fencing around the large dog area to 5 feet. And there's nothing magical about 5 feet. I can tell you my small Labrador could easily clamber over that if he needed to. But we've had a series of incidents over the years, and the general thought is that 4 foot just isn't enough. So part of this project would increase the height of the surrounding fence around the large dog area to 5 feet. As mentioned, extra off-leashing vestibules, new concrete walkway, which currently does not exist. Right now, there's only a DG walkway that goes out to the picnic table, and that minimally meets the requirements of the ADA, the American Disabilities Act. And it's difficult to maintain because the DG gets covered up with wood chips and sometimes erosion, and during the wet weather, it can actually get soft. We would add additional watering station to the southern area to serve the small dogs, additional maintenance gates, waste toter pads, about 18 new trees to try to replace some of those that have been lost over the recent years, and new rules signage, as this commission has approved. I think was that 2020, I think the final approval was given on the new rules for dog parks, not only this one, but also any dog park that the city has, any off-leash area. And then we would expand cover the expanded areas with wood chips. And if the money allows, this would be funded through the remains of the Measure M money allocated for dog parks. If we have enough, we would also try to wrap in some small shade structures, very similar to the ones that are out at Centennial Dog Park. If there's any questions about that, or if there isn't any questions about that, I'll just proceed on to my next item. Or you can ask them later if you'd like. I see one hand raised.
Yes, Vice Chair Vasquez.
Yeah, hi, Hugh. I was just wondering, in terms of the small dog park, how does that compare to the size of the one at Centennial?
It's smaller. Let's see if I can give you a hard
I mean,
number.
the large dog park is obviously a lot larger than the one at Centennial, but
Well, that's not exactly the case.
No.
At Centennial, we have a total of 1.3 acres, and the large dog area is about 1 acre, and the small dog area is about 1/3 of an acre. So what you have here, the grand total is just a little over 1 acre, basically. So the whole thing is quite a bit smaller than the Centennial Dog Park area, and it's always been recognized that this is a small for an off-leash area. In the draft master plan for Lagoon Valley Park, I would propose that it be tripled in size. We can't really expand it much more than what's shown because we get into wetland areas or into the treatment areas, and of course the lake isn't very far away either, and the road. So we're pretty much constrained by what's out there.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. I hope I answered your question there.
Great, thank you. Any further commissioner comments or questions for Hugh at this point?
All righty, let's proceed then. Tracy, if you'd go on to the next slide, please. So this next one is a long-awaited addition to the Magnolia Park, the very, very popular Magnolia Park that's built in the Southtown neighborhood. What you see on your screen here is the original master plan that was approved in 2010 for the entire Magnolia Park. Phase 1 basically included everything on the left-hand side because Vanden Road, which goes right down the middle, is still an active road. And so until the time comes when Vanden Road actually is closed, the rest of the park could not be built. In addition, the responsibility to build this second part of the park, that would be the eastern portion, would fall in the hands of a different developer. So we now have Agape developer who is preparing to build the homes that surround the eastern portion of this park. And we have, I think as I've reported previously, we now have a park development agreement with Agape to move forward with that in a timely manner. And I just want to share with this commission a handful, I'd say there's about 5 minor changes that have been made to the master plan on the east side. And I want to make sure that I convey those clearly to this commission. Tracy, if you would show the next slide, please. So this is the western portion that was already constructed. And if you look closely right in the middle, you can see that the fire station originally was designed to exit onto what is now Vanden Road, their driveway exit. In the process of building the fire station, they changed their plans so that they actually exit right onto Cogburn Circle, which is the road that goes in the oval all the way around the whole area. And that freed up what is now some of Vanden Road right-of-way to be added to the park. So that's one of the changes that we adjusted. Another one is, Tracy, could I ask you to go back to the prior slide, please? I'm sorry. Right in the smack dab in the middle of this master plan was a gazebo planned, and that gazebo sits on top of or as shown, on top of a sewer main. And we've known for many years that that cannot happen. And so it was anticipated that that would have to be moved. So with this new plan, we will be sliding that over to the east a little bit and changing the definition from a gazebo, that would be something raised with a concrete floor probably, to another picnic area. And the popularity of the picnic areas at Magnolia Park has just been very, very high. And so we think that that makes a lot of sense to add another picnic area at that location. The other changes are all pretty minor, adjusting some walkways and a couple other minor things. I will show those in the next, I think there's 2 slides. If you go forward 2 slides, Tracy. Yeah, this is just as an aerial of what the park looks like today. And you can see how the fire station exits onto Cogburn Circle. And you can also see, that's actually the entrance. The exit is the one to, there you go. Perfect. Thank you. And then you can see further down, you can see the incomplete walkways in the park. This also, I should point out that in the western part of the park, all of the more expensive components were included, which includes the restroom, which is very unusual for a neighborhood park, but this is a large one. The oversized playground with the spray play feature, very popular, has 3 covered picnic shelters, 2 small ones and 1 larger one, plus a number of remote satellite picnic facilities in the open air, and of course the off-street parking lot. So now if we can go to the next slide, Tracy. This is the modified master plan that that we're planning to move forward with. As noted, we had to do a couple changes there. In the area that used to be the where the fire station was going to exit onto Vanden Road, we've been able to squish a bocce court in there, and the developer is willing to front that cost. Well, not front it, but I mean they're getting park credit for it. Park diff credit. And as mentioned to the south of there a little bit, you can see the big picnic shelter has been scooched over to the right a little bit so as to avoid the sewer line. And then the various walkways are aligned a little better to match up with crosswalks going across across Cogburn Circle. A few additional trees have been added to better shade the remote picnic sites, and that's pretty much it. We're planning to the developer tells me that they expect to begin construction on this phase in the winter of 22, and with hopeful completion in spring of 23. And in order to communicate to the existing residents, there's no residents currently on the east side of this site, as you saw on the aerial. There are some nearby residents, however, and to make sure we communicate well with them what's actually coming there, we intend to post a large poster or signboard that shows this illustration, so they can clearly see what's coming in the near future. And with that, I guess I'll certainly entertain any questions, but I do have a couple more slides. Tracy,
comments or questions for Hugh at this point? Hugh, I have one quick question. So even though this park is considered a neighborhood park and it's growing, will it eventually be considered a community park, or is this always going to be a neighborhood park?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Chair McMahon. So our definition includes parks up to, I think, 12 acres, which this just is right about there when it'll be complete. As I noted, neighborhood parks typically do not have off-street parking. They typically do not have restrooms. But the decision was made many years ago, even before I came to the city, to basically take, with the Southtown development, or I should say prior to the Southtown development, the city's general plan showed 2 6-acre parks, one on either side of Vanden Road. And so with the Southtown development plan of creating a central park, they essentially took those 2 6-acre parks, neighborhood parks, and put them into one location. And so because of that, we supersized the components that were in here. Rather than having, for example, 2 small playgrounds, we made one supersized playground, and we added those additional facilities such as the restroom and the parking and extra turf areas. It will still be considered a neighborhood park. Admittedly, it'll be one of our larger neighborhood parks.
Great, thank you, sir.
Yep. So Tracy, if you would proceed to the next slide. So this is just to wrap up a little bit of notification about what's going on south of Lagoon Valley Park. This is actually PG&E are installing hardened power poles, and they are wrapped with a fire-resistant material. This is located just off of Lagoon Valley Road, south of Lagoon Valley Park. And you'll see the new poles going along Lagoon Valley Road and then down this private area here that is intended to, if there's a brush fire, these poles are intended to be more resistant to fire. Next slide, please. And then off to your right, there's been some questions about why these yellow poles have been installed. This is on the developer's land that will ultimately be dedicated to the city as part of their required wetland mitigation. And these poles just simply provide power to some surveillance cameras to provide security for their development as they build out. So that if you wonder what those are, that's what that is about. And I think I have one more slide. Yeah. So this was taken just this afternoon. In the far distance, you can see all the earth movers bringing dirt in to the Lagoon Valley, the lower Lagoon Valley development. I think at this point they're building up their landscape berm that will be separating the development from Interstate 80 a little bit. And it just gives you a little bit, a quick glimpse of all the activity that's going on out there. And that's the extent of my report for the night. I'd be happy to take any more questions if there are any.
Great, sir. Thank you so much for your presentation. Commissioner comments or questions for Hugh Hesterman? Hugh, I see no hands raised, sir.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Have a great evening. Item 12, reports of Recreation Manager Reggie Hubbard.
Thank you, Commissioner Chair. I just have a few things to report on. Next slide, Tracy. The Georgie Duke Boxing Room just received a facelift, so to speak. So we're excited about that. As you can see, we painted a lot of the portions of the boxing ring. Next slide, Tracy. We also got new paint on the walls, new flooring. They really like the flooring because it's a soft flooring where you can, if you drop a weight or you can kind of bounce on it a little bit if you're a boxer. So they really enjoy the new flooring, or they will enjoy the new flooring once we open fully. But it looks really nice in here. I know it's tough to see from the lighting. I'm not a professional photographer, but the lighting wasn't great, but you can kind of see some of the improvements here. Next slide, Tracy. Yeah, we got new mirrors put up. This is all with help of course, the public works staff contracted out to do the painting, the new flooring. And then we had our internal staff come in and put the mirrors up and do some of the other things related to the boxing ring. So very excited about that. Next slide, Tracy. Also got new lockers. The lockers that we had probably were from the 80s and 90s when the building first opened. So we were fortunate enough to be able to get some new lockers for our boxers and some of the folks that use the boxing room. So it just adds a nice touch to all the new other amenities inside the room. Next slide, Tracy. Oh, I'm sorry. So anyway, next thing I wanted to report on was last meeting, some of the commissioners asked about the scholarship program, and Commissioner Gutierrez asked about this earlier. So far we've awarded $13,000 for the scholarship program. Someone asked if the funds carry over, and I checked with our finance department, and although the funds don't carry over from year to year, we are able to increase the funds if we need to. And so if we ran out of, we have $100,000 that we can provide to families for the scholarship program, but if we ran out of those funds, we can always go back to the city council and request more funds. So even though, like I said, if it doesn't carry over, but we can always go and request additional funds if necessary. We have been, or we will be reaching out to some of the folks we work with, the PAL program, Boys and Girls Club, and letting them know that this program is available. We've done a lot of marketing for the program online and email blasts and things of that sort. But we're thinking that the majority of the funds probably will be used around our expo. That's when families really want to get their kids in, of course, swim lessons and summer programming. So although it's moving forward and we've used 13,000 or we've allocated $13,000 so far, I think we'll get close to 100,000 by the end of the year, end of the fiscal year. And actually we're hoping to use it all. So those are the two things I had, and I can answer any questions if you have any. Thank you.
Reggie, thank you very much. Commissioner comments or questions for Reggie Hubbard? I see none, Reggie. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Item 13, reports of director, Carrie Walker.
Thank you, Chair McMahon. I just have a couple of quick items. The first one is to let the commission know that if commissioners recall, late last year, the city council adopted council policies and procedures, and there's been a desire to move forward with that and establish something for the commissions as well. And so we've kicked that off, and Community Development Director Aaron Morris and myself and City Attorney Andrea Borba are beginning work on that. Obviously, Community Development staffs the Planning Commission, and then we'll be focusing on commission policies and procedures for the Parks and Recreation Commission. And Tracy, can you put the slide up of the org chart, please? I wanted to share with the commission some changes in the department, keep you up to speed on those. And I'll start over to the right here. Exciting news, our park planner, Nemo Gonzalez, our new full-time park planner, will be starting on Monday, October 18th. Just in time, we're anticipating getting a number of agreements for those Measure M projects back from the city attorney's office and being able to jump into those projects. Our management analyst position, as you're aware, is vacant right now. That recruitment closes on the 11th. And then we have a new employee, Office Assistant Amanda Lee, there, who reports to Tracy, and she'll be providing support to Melody as well with the Arts Advisory Committee. And then a big move that we've made, all of the program registration and reservation and Civic Rec, the software that manages our reservations and registrations, has all moved over to Melody. So that brings with it 3 additional full-time employees that she'll be supervising. And one of those is new, Kelly McJunkin, who will be working on a Ulatis. She starts on October 18th as well, and she'll be providing support there with the front counter and the registration function, as well as taking facility reservation. And then we have a vacancy, our recreation coordinator responsible for youth services and teens. That recruitment opened today. And I think those are all of our updates. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that anyone might have.
Thank you, Director Walker, and welcome to all of our new staff members. We look forward to working with you. Any commissioner comments or questions for Director Walker? I see none, ma'am. Thank you. Item 14, reports of the commission. Tonight, we have the opportunity to select up to 2 commissioners to serve on the 2022 Creek Walk Band Selection Committee. I've had the opportunity to serve on this committee, and it's a lot of fun. So at this point, we're looking for up to 2 volunteers to serve on this committee. And I do believe this is basically a 1 or 2 meeting opportunity. So it's not a big commitment, but at this point, we'll open it up to the commission for volunteers. Commissioner Gutierrez, I see your hand. Would you like to volunteer for that, ma'am?
I most certainly would.
Very good. I appreciate that. And any other commissioners would like to volunteer for this committee? I see no other hands. Commissioner Gutierrez, you are on the Creek Walk Band Selection Committee for 2022. And Commissioner Vandertulen, I see your hand up, sir.
It sounds like an interesting opportunity. So yeah, let's participate. We'll have fun.
I appreciate that. It is a lot of fun. There's a lot of great local talent out there, and you get to be a part of that. So very good. We have Commissioner Gutierrez and Commissioner Vandertulen. Thank you for volunteering for that. We appreciate it. At this point, we'll open it up for commissioner reports of the commission. We will start with Commissioner Bruman.
I just want to thank the staff for their presentations, and pretty much that's all I have tonight. Pretty quiet. I got some things I got to take care of after I get off of here, but I just want to have a nice evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Commissioner Gutierrez.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank everyone for their presentations. I would also like to note that I've seen some increased presence on a lot of the activities online, as well as just driving around with the posters about the events. I've also seen huge posters about the scholarships being available. So I don't know who's working on that, but I've definitely noticed. And Commissioner Bruman, please keep us all, remind us again about the event for Play for All Park. I'd love to be there. That's also super exciting. And yeah, see you guys all next month.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Commissioner Thompson.
I have nothing specific. Thank you, staff, and thank you other fellow commissioners for all that you do, and everyone have a happy October.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Vandertulen.
Good evening, everybody, again, and staff, thank you for the presentation. Quite a chock full of information. So Saturday, real quick, we went to our 10-year-old grandson's soccer event. Our regular soccer is back in over at Centennial Park, and it was hard to find a parking space, I must say. Very well attended, all age groups, lots of parents. So hopefully this is a sign that COVID is slowly disappearing, but quite involvement from the overall community. So that was exciting to see. First soccer event I've been to this season. And then Saturday, October 30th, I will be one of the judges for the Halloween Pet Parade. So next time we get together, I will give you a report on what a howling event that was. That's it for tonight. Thank you, everybody. See you in October. Or November, excuse me.
Outstanding, sir. Thank you so much. Vice Chair Vasquez.
Hi, everyone. Thanks to Commissioner Vandertulen for bringing up Centennial. It reminded me something. I've also been at Centennial every Saturday for soccer for our youngest, and the league uses a side entry on where there's parking, like perpendicular parking, and I noticed that it's not accessible, and it's actually a big step up and a big step down. And I actually had my mom with me, who's elderly, well, not elderly, but older. I wouldn't consider her elderly, but she's older, and it was a hard step up. So just wondering if that can be looked at in terms of accessibility. I think that would be great for the league and for all the folks who are attending soccer games at Centennial, because that side entry is definitely needed. Like Commissioner Vandertulen said, the parking lot is wild. I did meet with Reggie, and I'll send a follow-up email about that. I did meet with Reggie and the president of Vacaville Girls Fast Pitch Softball out at Nelson at the end of September to walk through the area and just kind of talk through the patch job of asphalt that was done last spring, and kind of like what can potentially be done before this spring season. And so we have an email chain going on, but and some follow-up questions still to be answered in terms of funding for that. But definitely it still needs some work on that. I do have an arts advisory meeting on my calendar for next week, I think, but I haven't heard anything about that. So I'm not sure yet if arts advisory is meeting for October. And then lastly, I did listen to, not last night's city council, the one before, they did approve the Rocky Hill Trail Art Grant project. So just wanted, if you hadn't listened to that, just give you all an update about that. But I would encourage you all to listen to it if you do have 30 minutes to listen to that section of the meeting, because I think that the city council members did share some good ideas about public art, about the future of public art in the city of Vacaville. their ideas and really some expectations for staff about projects like these moving forward, and how we can better work with the community and better publicize art opportunities for public art in town, and also just to garner interest. So hopefully if you have a few minutes to listen to that, I'd really encourage that. And then also a council member also brought up the issue of lack of like historical documentation on the Arts Advisory Committee on the website. And I know when I was assigned, I think a year ago, I asked about that too. So if we're able to do some follow-up on that, that would be great, just because there's no public access to any past agendas or past minutes for Arts Advisory. And that's all I got. I hope everyone has a great October and a nice Halloween, and we'll see you all in November.
Vice Chair, thank you so much for your comments and questions, or comments, ma'am. I appreciate it. And yeah, I have nothing, just to say thank you to everyone. You know, it's here we are in October, entering into the holiday seasons. Just continue to be safe, and I look forward to seeing everyone next month for our next meeting. At this point, we will adjourn until our next regular scheduled meeting, Wednesday, November the 3rd, 2021. Good night, Vacaville.